Hello again. So I have been preparing for this blog article that I'm writing. Every year I review websites and we publish them on our blog. We review them against a rubric. And this year, because I've been spending so much time optimizing sites and making them load faster, I decided to do some really geeky testing on the websites as I was reviewing them for, their good marketing components. And I realized that none of these websites, except for the ones that I built myself, were actually optimized. And I thought, how did this happen? These are national websites, right? Literally, how did it happen? I don't know. So I thought to myself, well, maybe people just don't know. Maybe they don't know how to tell if their website is slow, or maybe they don't even know that their website is slow, or they don't know why that's a problem. So first off, very quickly, it is a problem. It's a problem for two reasons. One is because you want people to get on your website and stay on your website. If they have to wait forever for it to load and they pop off, then that's the problem. And then the second reason is that when they pop off your website like that, then that's an indicator to Google that your website sucks. Yeah. So we don't really want that. And then your website is much less likely to be served by Google in search engine results. And that's not what we want either. Okay, so I'm going to tell you a little bit of my journey as to how I figured all this stuff out. And so that way you can figure it out for yourself. So I've got my screen shared over here and I'm going to make it big now. So first off, I started just by using PageSpeed Insights to look at websites, and it lets you know the mobile and it lets you know the desktop. Now, I know that this does not look like I'm perfect, but I have to for 1 second just show you how bad it was when I started, right? So I had a 64 when I started, and that's on PageSpeed Insights. And I was on GTmetrix, my boyfriend, GTmetrix. Can't wait for you to meet him. I'll introduce you in a second. I mean, our website was loading in 7.2 seconds with a D and a C, and I was mortified because I'm a web design company, and this is absolutely unacceptable. And so I spent literally days figuring out how to do this, and I'm going to tell you. So in PageSpeed Insights, it's going to tell you how fast your website is loading on desktop and how fast it's loading in mobile. Now, know that Google is much tougher on you than a lot of other tests, right? So it tells you first contentful paint. So that means when does stuff start to show up on the page, largest, and then how, so this is good information down here. And this usually reflects about the same things that you see up here. So this is how long is it taking for your website to load? And you can see these little pictures down here. Now, the thing that I ran into a challenge with is all of these were just not telling me enough information. I needed more. I needed more information about how to make my website load faster. And the other thing that was really weird that I figured out along the way is you'll notice that I ran 3 tests almost one right after the other, and so they gave me 3 different scores. And that's because Google goes out and it loads your website from the server. So if you have a shared server space, then that server could be doing other things at that time. And so it's not going to be as fast. It's not going to load as fast every single time because it's a response time, right? Also note that if your website, it has a caching plugin on it or is being cached, and that cache hasn't loaded, then when Google goes out to load your website, if the cache hasn't loaded, then the first time it's going to load a lot slower than the next few times that it loads. So PageSpeed Insights is okay. I'm not going to say that it's not okay, but it doesn't give you a whole heck of a lot of information to go on when you're trying to optimize your site. I do use it for some things, but it is not my best friend. So then as I was searching for how the heck do I fix this, I realized that I could have a new best friend, and his name was GTmetrix. So GTmetrix is so cool because it tells me exactly where the problem is. So it was hey, you need to leverage browser caching. Well, I'm not going to say that I knew exactly what that meant when it started. I mean, remember, I'm the CEO. I'm not the web developer anymore. So I was definitely doing some Googling to figure out exactly how we were going to make this browser caching happen. But right here, you'll notice how it says I need a leverage browser caching. I have a C, but none of these things are on my site. They're all on Google and Facebook and Google Tag Manager. Well, I cannot control Google, and so I cannot improve that browser caching there. This is my Cloudflare script, and I can't actually fix that. So we went from, what was it? What was my number over here? Let's look. We went from 7.2 seconds load time, and just now I pulled this report, and it's 3.36, and we went from 77 calls to the server down to 46, and our total page size dropped considerably. And it's all because we're caching things, we're properly resizing our images, and we're deferring the parsing of JavaScript. So we're basically making the website as light to load as possible. And that's how you get these high scores here. Now, if you want to know how your website stacks up, you just go out to GTmetrix. You're going to type in your URL, and then you can load your site. Now, here's the deal. You want to make sure, okay, so if you create an account and it's free, then you just would click over here because you want to make sure to load your site from the fastest server near you, or the closest server near you is really what I should be saying. It will take me longer to load my site from Vancouver, Canada, than it's going to be to load my site from Dallas, because Dallas is closer than Vancouver. So then you click Analyze, and it will give you your information once it runs the report. Now, if you want to know if your web designer has installed a caching software for you, then you can use this really fun Chrome extension here. See, it's generating my report. And plunk. All right, so still 49 requests, 3.3 seconds. My page size is a little bigger, but it's a comparable report, right? All right, so once again, let's say that you have a website and you want to know if it has caching plugins installed, if things are going right. So our website uses a CDN, and what that means is we actually cache our website on a server outside of our normal server where it's hosted, and we serve it from that server instead of where it's hosted because it's faster and there's more throughout the world that do that. But our website also has like 25,000 hits on it a month, and clearly I was having a hard time getting it to load quickly. So unfortunately, when I use this neat little Chrome app, which is called the Wapalyzer, it does not tell me if I have a caching plugin installed. Here you can see that it says I have a CDN, which is Cloudflare, which is that thing that I'm using to cache my website and host it on a server. It's like an image of it on a server, but not on the normal server. Yeah, I know, all this weird lingo, right? Okay, so I can't see it here. But if I go out to one of my clients' websites and I look at the Wapalyzer, which once again is a free Chrome extension, then I scroll down and I see that it has WP Rocket installed. So that underneath caching, you should see something installed. That means that they have installed a caching plugin for you and that it's working. Now, if you run your website through this test and leverage browser caching shows up and there are a bunch of things for your website here, then they have not configured it properly. So it may be there, but it might not be set up right. The other thing that this will do for you is it will tell you every single image that you have on your website that is too dang big. And that is another huge thing that will slow down your load time, is huge images. And so you have to go through and figure out either how you're going to automatically optimize them using a plugin or go through and re-optimize them yourself. All right, so there you go. Now you know you've met my boyfriend, GTmetrix, and you have got the Cliff Notes version of how I figured out how to take my 7-second load time down to 3 seconds, sometimes just 3 seconds flat, and how I got those page requests from 70 down to 46. I used these reports to tell me what was going on. I used a caching plugin. I used WP Rocket. We use Cloudflare to make sure that our site is cached yet another time. I actually had to go all the way down the bunny trail all the way down. And I literally chose which plugins to load on which pages. And that made it way faster. So if you really want to geek out, you can look at Plugin Organizer. If you don't use it correctly, you will break everything on your site. I learned that the hard way. So there you have it. All right, so use GTmetrix, run your site through it, see how you stack up. You can use PageSpeed Insights, run your site through that, see how you stack up. And then once again, GTmetrix is going to tell you what you need to change. You can use Wapalyzer to see whether or not you have a caching plugin installed on your website. And if for some reason your GTmetrix report shows that you're not using browser caching and you do have WP Rocket installed on your website, it means that it's not configured correctly. So you need to go back to your web developer and be like, hey, what's happening here? This isn't working quite right. Okay, that's all I had for you today. And if you have questions, you can put them in the comments and I'll answer them as best I can with this little impromptu whoop, whoop, go run a test, figure out if your website's slow. Bye.